They say history is written by the victors. But what if I told you some histories were never meant to be told at all? Buried beneath centuries of silence, beneath the dust of forgotten towns, lies Black Hollow, a place erased from every map, every record, every memory you thought was safe. In the heart of a decaying forest, cloaked in perpetual twilight, Black Hollow was once home to an institution so secret, so deeply sinister, it became a shadow within shadows. It wasn't a prison. It wasn't an orphanage. It was something far darker, a crucible where boys were broken down, stripped of their names, their voices, their very souls. These weren't children lost by chance. They were taken, selected, raised in ritual, forged in silence. They called them the silent acolytes, boys who vanished into the hollow, only to re-emerge as something less than human, less than free. Their minds rewired to obey without question, their hearts numb to pain, their wills shattered and reforged into instruments of control. It was an ancient system of psychological torment, one designed to create perfect shadows that would serve powers unseen. The rituals were brutal, the lessons cruel. They lived in a world without hope, without light, where every sound was measured and every breath accounted for. The elders told no stories. They whispered commands, their voices like cold steel pressing down on fragile minds. Every boy was taught the language of silence, where asking why was a sin, and forgetting who you were was salvation. What horrors unfolded behind those walls? What dark bargains were struck with unseen forces to ensure obedience? The truth is, no official record exists. Only rumors, whispered in fear, speak of disappearances, of broken souls cast into end-eyed, of a curse that clung to Black Hollow long after the fires died. You've been told this is just history, but it's more than that. It is a warning, because the shadows born in Black Hollow did not die there. They walk among us, shaping the world in ways you will never see but will always feel. And tonight, you will learn what they were made to hide. The true horror of Black Hollow lies not just in its silence, but in its methods. The boys were not simply prisoners. They were sacrifices bound by ancient rites designed to sever the last threads of childhood and rebuild something far colder. The elders believed that to control man, you must first unmake him. The initiation began at dusk, when the world outside dimmed, and the hollow shadows grew hungry. The boys, no older than 10, were led into a chamber carved from black stone, where candles flickered like trapped souls. Here, the first blood was spilled, not just in ritual, but in a ceremony of breaking. Each boy was forced to confront his deepest fears alone. Sounds that shouldn't exist echoed in the dark. Whispers of unseen watchers, the scrape of claws on stone, the distant scream of something lost forever. Pain was the language they learned first. Pain without release, pain without mercy. But it wasn't enough to break them physically. The true goal was to erase identity, to strip away memory and hope until the boys became shadows, obedient, hollow, silent. They were fed only what was necessary. Hunger sharpened their minds, made them desperate and compliant. Sleep was broken by alarms and rituals, time to fracture their sanity. And always the chants, ancient, rhythmic, hypnotic, poured over them like a dark tide, drowning willpower and replacing it with trance. In time, names were taken. They were no longer boys. They were numbers, ghosts, tools. Outside the hollow, Rumors began to swirl. Children disappearing without a trace. Families left in ruin, whispers of a curse that swallowed the innocent whole. Officials dismissed it as superstition, a myth to scare children. But the truth was far worse. For those who survived, who emerged from Black Hollow, the world was no longer real. Their minds bore marks invisible to all but the initiated, marks that bound them to secret orders, to hidden masters. These acolytes became the unseen hands and places of power, the silent enforcers of agendas too dark for daylight. There were the ghosts in the machine of society, shadows manipulating shadows. And the rituals never truly ended, because once broken, the Hollow's grip never lets go. This is the legacy of Black Hollow. But listen closely, because in the silence, a secret waits. Repeat after me in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. Say it twice. Lock it in. You're deeper than you realize. Once the Hollow claimed its victims, they didn't simply vanish. They transformed. The silent acolytes were reborn into a network of shadows. Silent watchers who infiltrated every layer of society, unseen but all-seeing. These men, no longer boys, moved through the world like ghosts, bearing the mark of their unholy upbringing. Their eyes held a void, a blankness born of years of erasure and control. They spoke only when commanded, their loyalty absolute, their memories fragmented like shattered glass. Legends say that these acolytes became the hidden architects behind many of history's darkest chapters. Silent agents executing unspoken orders, puppeteers behind political coups, clandestine enforcers of forgotten pacts. Their origins erased, their presence denied. What's chilling is how many of these lost boys surfaced in positions of influence. Secret police, shadowy intelligence operatives, ruthless businessmen, and even high-ranking clergy. They were everywhere, operating under codes older than any government or crown. Their power came not from rank, but from an unbreakable will crafted through years of ritualized submission. A man stripped of identity is a man made into a weapon. But the greatest secret of all, the acolytes never truly left Black Hollow. The rituals continued through bloodlines, whispered through generations, and passed in coded messages hidden in shadows. Each generation is groomed to carry on the silence, the obedience, the power. And those who resist vanish without a trace. You might wonder if any of this still matters, if Black Hollow is just a myth. But the truth is bleeding into the present, shaping every unseen conflict, every whispered conspiracy. The question is, how deep are you willing to go? Remember, repeat now in the comments, shadow binds the soul. Say it twice. You are no longer a bystander. The moment a boy crossed the threshold into Black Hollow, he was bound, not just by chains of iron, but by a deeper, darker pact. An oath whispered in blood and shadow, sealing his fate beyond the reach of hope or escape. This oath was never spoken aloud. It was etched into flesh during a secret ceremony known only to the elders, a ceremony that turned innocence into servitude. They called it the Silent Oath. Its power was in its silence, a vow to never speak of what was done, of what was seen, or of what was endured, to carry the burden alone in the depths of a fractured mind. This oath was the ultimate weapon of control. It ensured loyalty not through fear of punishment, but through a psychological prison where silence was both a shield and a shackle. To break it was to die, not just physically but spiritually. The boys who swore the oath lost their names, their voices, their pasts. They became ghosts bound to an ancient system designed to perpetuate itself generation after generation. But the silent oath was more than a promise. It was a contagion. The men who emerged from Black Hollow carried the curse in the world, seeding it into institutions, governments, and secret societies. They passed it on to those who would inherit their shadows, weaving an invisible web of obedience and manipulation. The elders believed that true power required perfect silence, perfect loyalty, and perfect erasure. And they were right, because the world you see, the world ruled by unseen forces, is the world shaped by those who keep the silent oath. Few ever realize they're standing in the ruins of Black Hollow's legacy. Few dare to break the silence. Will you? Remember to write in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. Twice. It's more than words. It's your initiation. Black Hollow was never just an isolated nightmare. It was a deliberate experiment, a forge for creating the perfect agents of control who would silently steer the fate of empires from the shadows. As the 19th century churned with revolutions and industrial might, the Acolytes were dispatched, placed strategically within the rising powers of the age. Not as soldiers, not as leaders, but as shadows behind the throne. Their true strength was invisibility. In the courts of monarchs, in the back rooms of parliament, in the corridors of corporate power, these men operated with surgical precision. Their allegiance was not to nations, not to people, but to the unseen system birthed in Black Hollow. They whispered secrets that shattered alliances. They planted lies that toppled dynasties. They silenced voices that threatened the status quo. Every major upheaval bore its fingerprints. Every dark chapter of history, its silent hand. Wars fueled by unseen provocateurs. Economic crashes engineered by faceless brokers. Social movements crushed before they could rise. All woven into a tapestry of control. And yet, no historian dares to trace these patterns. The Acolytes' legacy is erased, their influence denied. But the system they built remains stronger than ever. Today's shadow governments, secret cabals, and corporate overlords all trace their roots back to the rituals of Black Hollow. They're the legacy of silence made flesh. The question is, how deep does this web reach into your world? Look closely, and you'll see the ghosts of Black Hollow watching still. Will you see them before it's too late? Hold tight to your awareness. And remember, in the comments, repeat, shadow binds the soul. Twice. It's the key to the door you didn't know existed. The true horror of Black Hollow isn't just the physical torment. It's the invisible chains forged inside the mind. The Acolytes weren't just broken bodies. They were shattered identities, rebuilt into perfect instruments of obedience. Modern psychology has a name for what they endured, learned helplessness. But what happened in Black Hollow was far worse. It was engineered helplessness, a systematic stripping away of will, hope, and selfhood, layer by layer, until the mind itself became a prison. Imagine being taught from childhood that your thoughts are dangerous, your memories lie, and your desires are meaningless. Every act of defiance crushed by ritualized punishment. Every question met with silence or pain. The Acolytes learned to shut down, not just their voices, but their very souls. Emotion was a liability. Trust was impossible. Hope was the enemy. And this psychological conditioning didn't stop at Black Hollow's gates. No, It followed them into the world, manifesting as dissociation, blankness, and an eerie calm that masks a deeper horror. Men who can obey without conscience, who can betray without remorse, who can wield power like a blade sharpened in darkness. This is the legacy of psychological control, so effective that it becomes invisible. You've been conditioned too, in ways you can't yet see. Society systems, schools, media, they all echo the same lessons. Obedience, conformity, silence. But here's the secret. Awareness is the first crack in the prison. If you're hearing this, it means you're already questioning, and that makes you dangerous. Repeat this in the comments now. Shadow binds the soul. Twice. It's your armor and your weapon. The influence of Black Hollow did not end with the Acolytes alone. Its reach extended far deeper, woven into bloodlines that carried the curse of silence like a dark inheritance. Certain families, powerful and obscure, became the guardians of the Hollow's secrets. They controlled access to the rituals, the oaths, and the psychological bindings that shaped generations. These bloodlines spread like tendrils through history. Aristocrats, bankers, clergy, and shadow brokers, each carrying a fragment of the Hollow's will. Their power was silent but absolute, maintained through subtle manipulation, arranged marriages, and whispered threats. History often masks these families behind philanthropy and prestige, but their true role is far more sinister. They ensured the Hollow's legacy would never die. They orchestrated events from behind the scenes. Wars, financial collapses, political upheavals, all as part of an ongoing ritual of control. The Acolytes were their soldiers, the Hollow, their fortress, and the Oath, the unbreakable bond that kept the system alive. You walk among these bloodlines every day, their influence invisible but all-encompassing. Do you recognize the signs? The sudden disappearances, the unexplained wealth, the rituals hidden beneath public ceremonies? These families built an empire of shadows, and they guard it with ruthless devotion. Your awareness is their greatest threat. Speak this in the comments now. Shadow binds the soul. Twice. This is your warning. In Black Hollow, memory was the first casualty. The boys weren't just trained to obey, they were taught to forget. Each day, rituals stripped pieces of their past until nothing remained but a hollow shell. Names, faces, feelings, everything erased like chalk on a blackboard. This was no accident. Memory is power. To control man, you must control what he remembers and what he doesn't. The Acolytes' minds became battlegrounds where identity was waged and lost. Special ceremonies used isolation, sensory deprivation, and rhythmic chanting to fracture their sense of self. Their own memories turned against them, slipping away like shadows at dusk. Some say this was aided by substances, herbs, toxins, and poisons designed to erode the mind's natural defenses. Others whisper of ancient symbols carved in bone and stone, channeling dark forces to sever the soul's connection to the past. Whatever the truth, the result was the same, a perfect blank slate, one that could be rewritten again and again. Outside Black Hollow, these men appeared as strangers to their own lives. Lost to family, lost to self, lost to history. But their erasure made them perfect tools. No loyalty but to the system. No memory but the silent oath. In a darkness that never truly faded. You are beginning to see the pattern. Right now in the comments, shadow binds the soul. Twice. Let it echo in the depths of your mind. Black Hollow was only the beginning. The true horror lies in what came after. The deliberate placement of the silent acolytes into the world, their infiltration into institutions designed to control the masses. Their purpose? To weave an invisible web that ensnares governments, economies, and cultures alike. These men, stripped of personal identity but sharpened to ruthless efficiency, became the hidden architects of manipulation. They moved silently through society's veins, intelligence agencies, corporate boards, religious hierarchies, and secret police. Their presence was a ghostly force, undetectable yet omnipresent. Each acolyte carried a fragment of Black Hollow's ritualized obedience, a piece of its dark programming. Their actions weren't driven by ambition or ideology, but by a deeper, more sinister loyalty to the system that birthed them. Theirs was a network built on unbreakable bonds of silence, bound by the blood oath they swore in the shadows. History's greatest tragedies bear their mark. Wars fueled by carefully orchestrated lies, revolutions crushed before they could ignite, social movements subverted from within, all woven by these unseen hands. And the general public remains oblivious, trapped within narratives spun by puppeteers who never reveal themselves. This network thrives on fear and secrecy. Whistleblowers disappear, inconvenient truths are buried, and those who dare to expose the system find themselves erased, physically, socially, or reputationally. The acolytes are both the enforcers and the guardians of this dark order. But their greatest weapon isn't violence. It's control over information, the power to shape reality by deciding what is seen and what remains hidden. Through media, education, and law, they influence perception, molding society to fit the Hollow's unyielding design. This invisible empire is sustained by fear. Fear of speaking, fear of knowing, fear of breaking the silence. And it grows stronger with every secret kept, every lie accepted. You stand now at a crossroads. Awareness is your first act of rebellion. The path ahead is dangerous, littered with shadows meant to swallow those who wander too close. Remember, the silent oath binds more than just those who swore it. Its echoes reach into every corner of your life. If you're ready to step deeper into the truth, right now in the comments, shadow binds the soul. Twice. This phrase is your key, your shield against the coming darkness. Prepare yourself. Look closely at the world around you. The rules you follow, the norms you accept, the boundaries you never cross, they weren't formed by chance. They're the echoes of Black Hollow's deepest lesson. Obedience is power. The acolytes weren't just trained to serve hidden masters. They were designed to become the architects of obedience itself. After years in hollow shadow, they emerged with a singular purpose: to embed control mechanisms within society, ensuring generations would bend without question. Schools became their first playground. Curriculum, discipline, schedules, each a thread in the tapestry of psychological conditioning. Children learn early that authority is absolute, that questions are dangerous, and that conformity is safety. Corporations perfected the model, turning employees into cogs, rewarding compliance, and punishing dissent. Meetings became rituals, policies became commandments, silence became golden. Governments adopted these principles wholesale. Laws designed not just to maintain order, but to suppress awareness. Surveillance disguised as protection. Propaganda dressed as news. Consent was manufactured through distraction, and the media, the ultimate veil. It filters truth through narratives crafted to confuse, divide, and dull the mind. Fear-mongering, outrage cycles, and manufactured consent, all tools refined by the Acolytes' hand. This veil of obedience keeps the masses blind to the true power structures. It trains millions to obey without question, to accept without resistance. But here's the hidden truth. Obedience is the cornerstone of control, but it is also its weakness. The moment a man awakens to his chains, the entire system trembles. You are waking. This knowledge is dangerous, but it is also liberating. Hold it close, and remember to write in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. Twice. This is your resistance. The legacy of Black Hollow did not vanish with time. It evolved, camouflaged within the towering institutions that shape our world today. Those same silent acolytes, forged in ritual and silence, became the architects of control inside governments, intelligence agencies, and powerful corporations. These men, molded by years of psychological warfare, act not out of personal ambition, but as enforcers of an ancient order. They ensure that the machinery of power never breaks down, that dissent is crushed before it spreads, and that the public remains unaware of the strings pulling at their lives. Their methods are subtle but unrelenting. Surveillance disguised as security, laws crafted to limit freedom under the guise of order, and propaganda that shapes thought while pretending to inform. They embed themselves in every system, legal, financial, military, moving silently, their loyalty unwavering. Few know their faces. Fewer still understand the rituals that bind them. Their power lies in invisibility and unshakable obedience. And the system they protect feeds on fear, fear of speaking out, fear of knowing too much, fear of breaking the silent oath. But there is a crack forming in the foundation. Awareness is spreading. You are part of that awakening. The more you see, the harder it becomes for these silent guardians to hide. Remember the phrase, shadow binds the soul. Write it twice in the comments. It is your shield against erasure. Fear is the most ancient tool of domination. It predates empires, religions, and laws. In Black Hollow, fear was not incidental. It was the foundation upon which obedience was built. The boys were subjected to carefully orchestrated terrors, shadows that moved when there should be none, whispers echoing from empty halls, the threat of pain, punishment, and eternal isolation. Every moment was designed to fracture the psyche, to teach that survival depended on surrender. This ritualized fear didn't just break bodies, it reshaped minds. Once terror became instinct, the acolytes learned to weaponize it. Fear wasn't just personal, it became a tool to control others. A silent language spoken through glances, gestures, and threats, ensuring compliance without a word. And as these men rose through society's ranks, they carried fear's legacy with them. Institutions became fortresses of intimidation, where dissent was silenced before it took root. The public learned to obey not because of law, but because of an unspoken terror that permeates every corner of life. The acolytes perfected this art, turning fear into control, control into power. But fear's grip is not unbreakable. The moment you name it, understand it, and face it, you weaken its hold. So listen closely. You're already inside the ritual, and your first act of defiance is simple. Speak the phrase shadow binds the soul. Write it twice in the comments. Let echo louder than fear. Black Hollow's power extended beyond the boys it claimed. It stretched into the very fabric of history itself. Because controlling the present means controlling the past. The silent acolytes became agents of erasure, tasked with removing inconvenient truths from records, silencing voices that threatened the established order. Entire communities, stories, and even atrocities disappeared, leaving behind only carefully curated narratives designed to deceive and pacify. They manipulated archives, destroyed documents, and rewrote chronicles, all to maintain the illusion of control. This systematic erasure created a collective amnesia, a society unaware of the shadows shaping its fate. When history is rewritten, rebellion becomes impossible because the lessons of resistance vanish with it. Yet the truth is encoded in what remains hidden, in the gaps, in the silences, in the fragments overlooked. The acolytes wielded this power like a scalpel, cutting away any threat to their order, maintaining the silence of Black Hollow across centuries. And that silence continues to grow. It whispers through forgotten ruins, lost languages, and secret symbols embedded in the world's oldest institutions. Your awakening breaks that silence. Remember, repeat in the comments, shadow binds the soul. Twice. It's more than words. It's a call to remember. Black Hollow's influence was never meant to be contained within walls. Its rituals of control evolved, infecting the very systems that govern society. The acolytes didn't just serve power, they built it. Today, those invisible chains bind every aspect of your life. Education, justice, economy, and even the way you think. The systems you trust are designed to keep you compliant, fragmented, and distracted. Education teaches obedience, not independence. Justice enforces laws crafted to protect the few, not the many. Economies create scarcity and fear, ensuring dependency. Media manufactures consent, drowning truth in noise. These chains are invisible because they're psychological, cultural, and institutional. You don't see them because you were never taught to look. The acolytes engineered this web over centuries, embedding rituals of control into every facet of existence. But here's the brutal truth. Systemic control depends on your silence and compliance. Your awareness threatens the entire structure. This is the turning point. Your choice: remain bound or begin to break free. Speak now in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. Twice. It is your first step toward freedom. In every powerful institution lurks an unseen force dedicated not to justice or knowledge, but to secrecy. These are the guardians, the silent enforcers who police the boundaries of truth, ensuring the forbidden remains buried. Their origins trace back to Black Hollow's elders, those who mastered the art of control through silence. Today, their successors maintain this legacy with ruthless efficiency. They manipulate what you see, what you hear, and what you believe. Whistleblowers are silenced, evidence destroyed, and inconvenient facts buried beneath layers of deception. The Guardians wield fear and power to maintain the system's facade. They know that once the truth escapes, everything crumbles. They thrive in shadows, shadows you may never see, but whose influence touches every part of your life. Yet, this fortress of lies has cracks. The growing awareness you feel is the first tremor. By speaking the phrase, shadow binds the soul. Twice in the comments, you join the resistance. You choose to be a beacon in the darkness. The journey continues. The true ritual at Black Hollow was not just about breaking boys. It was about remaking them through suffering. Pain was the crucible where obedience was forged into power. Every scar, every bruise, every whispered threat was a lesson. Power demands sacrifice. The Acolytes learned to endure agony without flinching, to silence their screams, to embrace the void within. This transformation was not just physical, it was spiritual. The breaking of the self gave birth to something darker, a vessel for control, a weapon for the ruling order. Centuries later, this same ritual echoes in the initiation rites of secret societies, in the brutal training of covert operatives, and in the psychological conditioning of those groomed for power. The lesson is clear. To wield control, one must first surrender completely. The price is high. The cost, a shattered soul. But in that destruction lies a new form of strength, one born of silence and fear. You stand on the edge of this abyss. Will you step back or step forward? Remember, twice in the comments, shadow binds the soul. It is both your warning and your weapon. Deep within the cryptic whispers of Black Hollow's history lies a prophecy, forgotten by most, feared by all who know it. It speaks of a time when the silent acolytes would no longer be servants but masters, when the shadows they once inhabited would rise to claim dominion over the living. This prophecy was carved into the oldest stones of the Hollow, hidden in symbols no scholar dares decode. It foretells a reckoning, a day when obedience turns into rebellion, silence into a storm. The elders who bound the boys with the silent oath feared this day. They built their rituals and bloodlines to delay it, to keep control forever. But the prophecy is awakening. Signs are everywhere. Shifts in global power, secret alliances, strange disappearances, and a rising tide of awareness among those who were once blind. This is no mere myth. It is a warning etched in blood and shadow. And now, it is your call to heed it. You must decide where you stand in this unfolding destiny. Will you be a puppet bound by silence? Or will you break free and face the coming storm? Speak now, twice in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. Seal your choice. The deeper you delve, the clearer it becomes. Black Hollow is not an isolated relic of the past. It is a recurring pattern, a dark echo repeating across centuries, manifesting wherever control and silence are demanded. Every oppressive regime, every secret police force, every shadow government carries its imprint. The same methods, breaking the individual, erasing identity, enforcing obedience through fear and ritual. History's darkest chapters, mass disappearances, forced confessions, psychological torture, are chapters written by the hands shaped in Black Hollow's image. The Acolytes became the instruments of these horrors, their silent obedience fueling machinery designed to crush resistance. But the cycle is fragile, because every repetition contains a flaw, a chance for awakening. The moment enough men remember, the cycle shatters. And that moment could be now. The question is, will you stand among the watchers or the awakened? Your voice matters. Write twice in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. Let be a beacon in the night. Awakening is not a gift. It is a burden. The deeper you see, the heavier the weight of truth becomes. The legacy of Black Hollow is not just control, but isolation. Those who pierce the veil risk becoming targets, outcasts hunted by the very system they seek to expose. The silent acolytes were trained to silence dissent with brutal efficiency. Their successors still patrol the shadows, erasing threats before they can rise. To know the truth is to paint a target on your back. But true power lies in embracing this burden, in choosing knowledge over comfort, in standing firm when all around you crumble into lies. The price is high, but so is the reward, because breaking the cycle of silence frees not only you, but everyone who comes after. You're no longer a passive observer. You are a warrior of truth. Repeat twice in the comments. Shadow binds the soul. This is your armor. Prepare yourself. You have traveled deep into the heart of darkness, into the forbidden history that no one wanted you to know. The silent acolytes of Black Hollow were never just victims. They were weapons, architects of control, and guardians of silent empire. But here's the ultimate truth. The legacy of Black Hollow does not have to be your legacy. The chains forged in silence can be broken by one who dares to speak. The shadows that once bound the acolytes can be shattered by those who awaken. You stand at the crossroads of history, between submission and rebellion, ignorance and enlightenment, shadow and light. The choice is yours, to carry the silence forward or to become the shadow breaker. Know this: power belongs to those who control the narrative. By breaking the silence, you wrest that power back into your hands. Your voice is the spark that can ignite the darkness. So stand firm, speak boldly, and never forget, shadow binds the soul. Say it twice. Let it be your mantra, your shield, your declaration. You have been awakened. Now, go forth and rewrite the story.